Hello, Shawna. Thank you so much for joining me again on my channel. I'm so excited to film this update with you after your interview with me 10 months ago now. How are you?
I'm good, Cassie. I am so excited to be here. And I'm so excited to share the next piece of what's been going on in the last 10 months. But really super duper excited to connect with you this morning. I've been looking forward to this.
Yay, so glad you can be here. If you guys haven't met Shawna yet, I'll link her last interview I did here on my channel in the description below so you can watch that next. And this is the second part of that interview. This is the year update of when she actually decided to quit her teaching job and not go back for the school year. So she has had now a full 12 months with no job. And before this, in her first 2 years selling on Etsy, she had sold $295,000 in revenue. And that was through hard work and grit and hard times. But by the time we talked to her 10 months ago, she was having a lot easier of a time. So I'm excited to hear how these last 12 months have gone with you not actually working, Shawna, because I'm sure things have been just magical. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what it's been like the last year not having a regular job? What's that experience like been for you?
Well, first of all, this interview is perfect timing because this week everyone went back to school. So I'm in, group text with all my teacher friends. And, Sunday night, we're all texting and they're like, oh, Shawna doesn't have the Sunday night scaries tonight because, they're all going back the next day. And I get to wake up and work on my computer and look up funny puns to put on shirts while they're sitting at data chats and being, told all of these strict rules that they're going to be following for the year and all that. So I'm just extra thankful to get the clem together. It's just so exciting and so life-changing. And just where your life can go in a relatively short time, eons away from where it was. So, and I know you know that transformation, and it just feels like a rags to riches story because I'm going to be quadrupling. It looks like I'm going to quadruple my income from teaching, and this is my third year. I'm not even done with my third year yet. October will be 3 years that I've been on Etsy. So this calendar year, it looks like I'll have quadrupled my income. So the first part of the journey that was so difficult and so hard, I'm so glad that I just kept going and I just kept making the bad designs and putting them out there anyways, and then listening to videos to try to learn how to make the better designs. Okay, I'm going to watch a design video. I'm going to watch more videos where they're talking about your videos, where you're talking about, doing market research, which was such a hard thing for me to grasp. And when something's hard to grasp, it's really easy to shut down and to kind of ignore that thing or avoid it. So you just have to look at it little by little, okay, well, I'm going to keep making my designs. I know I'm not doing it all correct, but you can't wait until you know how to do it all correct to get back to doing it. You have to keep doing it wrong and keep listening to instruction so that each time it's getting just a little bit better. And don't avoid the topic that you are feeling overwhelmed by, like market research. So last year, my sister-in-law had said, hey, Shawna, we're going to join Cassie's course. We're going to join Cassie's mentorship. Let's do it. I procrastinated and did not email to join your mentorship group right away. And I wanted to, and I'm a procrastinator. So she had called me on the phone on my way home from school one day. I remember right where I was. And she said, you need to do this. You need to do it today. It was due yesterday. You had put a time limit on joining the mentorship group. I was like, oh no, Danielle was already in it. And I was like, I better make this an extra engaging email to Cassie and see if she'll let me into this course or into the mentorship group. And that was the beginning of a new beginning because I was already on my way, but joining the mentorship group and being an educator myself, I understood the value of investing in education. So in order to, be a teacher, I had to do 4 years of college. I was lucky I only came out of college owing $7,000 because I lived at home and I had a scholarship. So lucky me that I only came out owing $7,000. My career, I was making around $50,000 a year, right? I'm so glad I invested in that mentorship group because for I believe it was $100 a month. I got instruction from you over the course of those 6 months, and it was just worth all of the knowledge. And I mean, I should have been paying triple, because it was worth all of that knowledge and all of the encouragement you were giving. And it was some of the things that happened during that mentorship group that sent me on the course that I've been on, because you had mentioned a book that about the 4-hour work week. And it was time to make the decision. Was I going to go full time into my Etsy store? And that was a big risk. Or was I going to go back to school, and it would have been much slower growth for my Etsy store? And in that book, I started listening to that book, and it was one of the lines in that book that made me take the risk, to look at the risk, assess it. How bad is the risk really? How long will it take you to get back on course? I could always get another teaching job. So I was so glad that I embraced that advice and all of the other advice that you had been giving. You started us out in July. You said, hey, you need to get your Christmas listings in. Let's go. I challenge you to do 500. I immediately stuck a paper on my wall right here with the different niches that I wanted to hit for Christmas. I had 4 or 5 niches. I was only going to be listing in those particular Christmas niches. I wasn't bouncing around all over the place, but those particular subcategories of Christmas. And I just did little tally marks. And you said 500, Cassie, and I said, okay, challenge accepted. I'm on it. Like, we're doing this.
I love
that. So, and I did achieve that. And boy, I will never look back. Like, Christmas last year was amazing. In November, I don't think it was quite $30,000 profit, but it was incredible. And, just moving forward over the course of this year, I have often gone to bed. I have often gone to bed just so thankful that I don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that I don't have to hustle out of the house and be away all day. I just had, sleepovers with my nieces. I didn't have to schedule around any, it's back to school. So I can't do sleepovers because they are still out for summer, but I'm not. My schedule's so open, and I can do the things that I want to do. My friends are going on a vacation. It didn't work out for my one. We go on trips every year together. For one of my friends, it's very stressful for her at work right now. She couldn't go over the summer. Usually we go over the summer. If I wasn't, making my own schedule, that trip wouldn't be happening, because we're now going, in a few weeks. And I wouldn't have been able to take a week and a half off from school at the beginning of the school year, right? So I have time to do the things that make my life more rich. And one of those things has been also building a YouTube channel, right? So that has been, building my Etsy shop has been so rewarding. I know that people watching the interview that aren't to a place where they're making regular sales yet might be thinking, oh yeah, right, it's rewarding. You'll look back on the struggle. That struggle is so real, and it's so hard. I'm sorry, I'm getting like verklempt, but that struggle is so hard, and you'll look back at that struggle, and you'll be so thankful that you kept pushing through and you figured it out. You just have to get it figured out. If something's not, if you're not making sales, you haven't figured it out yet, or you don't have enough listings. And it is worth getting figured out, but you have to stay positive in order to get to that place.
Well, and let's go back in time for a second, Shawna, because I think for anyone who's watching this that didn't watch your first interview, obviously go back and watch it, because I think it's super motivating. But let's just do a tiny recap, because I wrote down a couple notes from your last interview. If you're sitting just starting your Etsy store a couple months in and not getting the sales you want, Shawna's sitting here talking about these crazy numbers, $30,000 profit in a month. This isn't like something that she built overnight. Her first month, she had 1 sale. Her second month, she had like 4 sales. And then she didn't make her first $1,000 for, I think it was like 8 months. She made her first $1,000 in a month. And so it took her like 9 months to really start making any kind of income. She had to put up 700, 1,000 listings to start getting the consistent income. But she put in that time and put in that work and said, you know what, I'm going to give this a year. No matter what, I'm going to give this a year. I'm going to give it my all. And because she put all that time and effort and energy into it in the beginning is why it's all paid off now. So I think it's easy to look look at Shawna now and be like, oh, well, she did it because she's really good at this or because of that. There's no excuses. This is not a business where there's any shortcuts. Sure, you can watch YouTube videos with tips and tricks, but none of them are a shortcut for the market research and the creativity and the work that you need to put in. And that's exactly what Shawna is embodying here and telling you about now. So I hope this is so inspiring that if you're not where you want to be, it could just be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, somewhere in that range. I think is a really reasonable amount of time to give yourself the time and energy to learn the skills, to get better, and to really start changing your life. Like, look at Shawna. Oh my gosh, you're getting so emotional because your life is absolutely changed from doing this side hustle. And I just think that's so beautiful. So I loved hearing about what it was like for you your first year. And I think that hearing the emotional pieces and how hard it was in the beginning and how it's changed your life is so, so, so inspiring. But now let's talk about the part that I think most people are super interested in. So last time we talked, like I said, you had sold 295K. We talked 10 months ago. So that was last October. And so you had started what month in 2020?
October.
So that was 2 years in, we had interviewed you. So now, it took you 2 years to get to almost 300K. And you guys watch this compound interest of what these numbers can do, because since October of last year, how much have you sold in revenue?
Now, I just looked at the numbers this morning and I've had my eye on them for a while because I'll be hitting 1 million, I think, before Q4 starts. So I'm at almost 900,000. I think it's like 864,000. I was just looking at the number before the interview started. I think that's what it was. 864,000 in revenue. Incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. And so the sales just keep coming faster and faster. So you hear people talking about momentum, and that's what's so magical about this business model. One is a rags to riches. I certainly feel like a rags to riches story. Like, going from I have to pinch every penny and I have to I thought about this the other day. I used to tutor my butt off to make ends meet, to bridge the gap between what I needed to be making. So I'd be tutoring every day after school. I made maybe $8,000 or $9,000 tutoring every day, getting home at 7 o'clock at night for the year, $8,000 to $9,000. And now I am making that. I'm making more than that amount of money in 1 month on Etsy profit. So it's incredible to think, how my efforts were never going to double down on themselves as a teacher. I was always going to be trading time for money. Now I put the time in, but later the money just keeps, I have a chance to make more and more money off of that same amount of time. And it's compounding. So each listing you're putting out there, a new chance to make a stream of income, like to make it its own little tiny money-making listing. Those little money-making listings just add up over time, and the whole momentum just starts. I used to sit. Tell me if this is you. You tell us in the comments if this is you. I know I'm not the only person that's done this. I used to sit when I was hardly making any sales or no sales, and I would have big shops open on my browser, right? So I'm sitting designing, trying to do stuff, and I would waste a lot of time doing this. I'd go back and I'd refresh the screen to see their little sales number, to see how many sales they'd made since I checked that morning, or maybe since I checked an hour ago or something. And I'm like, oh my God, they made like 5 sales just this 1 hour. Oh my God, they made like, 100 sales today. Well, at this point, I'm probably that shop for some people, because I'm making, like, I was looking at that, like, that's impossible. How could I ever get to that? And now, and actually one of my friends, my friend Laneta, said that the reason I was thinking about this is she had said to me the other day, she's like, geez, Shawna, I have your screen open on mine. I'm refreshing your thing. You made like 20 sales since I last refreshed it. It was like not even an hour ago. I'm like, I know, I just got this great orders. And like, oh, that's so funny. I hadn't thought about those days. It can change. Not like this. It feels now to me like this, but it was gradual. But with the momentum, it just sells more and more as you sell more and more. It goes
Well,
faster and
and
faster.
not just to sell more and more. You were telling me before we hopped on the call that you have a goal of how many listings you have to keep up with every single month. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what that's looked like for you and how to keep that momentum? Because with Etsy, I've found at least you can't just rest on your laurels. Some designs from 2 years, 3 years ago will keep selling, but the majority will go out of trend or someone else will copy it or it just won't, keep going. And so you have to kind of like keep refreshing. Not every listing lives forever. And so what has your process been like to keep this momentum going and what's kept you motivated doing all that work? So how many listings are you doing a month and how have you been able to keep yourself motivated to do that?
Love that question. I have so many things rolling through my head. I hope I am able to get them all out and remember all of them. So right now I have a listing goal of 150 to 200. I tend to make big goals. That doesn't work for everybody. I drive my friends nuts with that. So if you need to make really realistic goals, then do that. But I go for 200. If I get to 150, I'm pleased with myself. That's pretty much the same effort as I was putting in last year. So I'm doubling my profit from last year. I was able to make 100,000. I get to make the same amount of efforts on Etsy, but I just gave myself doubled my salary on Etsy. So that's something that's really neat too about this. You just keep giving yourself these huge raises, right? So that is my goal. And I really believe in building out the niches that I'm in. So I add year after year, I round my shop out with niches that I think are going to be selling during the different seasons. And I keep adding to those as the seasons come. Some of them are evergreen, but they have a bigger push at certain times. Like, so teachers, there's a lot of sales to be had in teachers from like March to August. That's going to be the majority of your sales. June, July, and August being the main months there. But I add to it all year long, but with a bigger push at that time. I have kind of gotten a couple of niches that are like this now, where I'm able to add to these different niches regularly. So that 150 listings, I have a piece of chart paper, and I put 5 headings up there. They're not just randomly like, oh, I'm going to follow this whim today. I hear pickleball is great. Let me go make a pickleball shirt. I'm not in that niche. So I'm not going to go run and make a pickleball shirt. Now, in the beginning, you might be testing out a bunch of things. But at this point, I've done that part, and I'm in 5 or 6 places that I keep my presence in. So though the 150 listings, 200 listings, I'm putting tally marks, and I have like, like I want 20 over here and I want 50 over here or whatever. So I'm really paying attention very diligently to particular niches. I think that's super important to help me gain momentum in these places. They're like little money-making monsters in my shop. They're awesome. And then the other thing that I'd have to say on that is, you're going to have listings that take off, and then you got these bestsellers. And I just kind of developed this for myself, or kind of came up with, this is what's working for me this year, and kind of put words to what I was doing. Because my friend Lynetta was struggling with this. And when you explain something to somebody, you become so much better at it. So as I was explaining it to her, I kind of put it into words like, this is what I'm doing. And now I can do it more intentionally because I realize it's what I'm doing. When someone is copying your bestseller and people are, taking that bestseller and copying it and putting it out. And I first of all, I did a search. Usually they don't make as many sales as you are. I use Everbee to do that. They're not making as many sales as the bestseller was. So they're always going to be behind. Even if they get a bestseller off of your design, they still aren't selling it in the volume that you did. But then you have that. Say that again.
You have the head start. You posted it first. You've got the sales momentum, the reviews. And so you've got a little head start on the people who steal it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And until I looked at the Everbee numbers, that felt encouraging to me, because I'm like, oh, well, they've got a bestseller, but they're not actually selling nearly as much of this as I am. So, okay. All right. They're, that was encouraging to know that they weren't outselling me on it or anything like that. But then I went back into these listings and I made sure that, first of all, double down on your listing before someone else is able to sell it. So if it's a color scheme, if it's a certain niche, explode your shop with that. Take your stuff and double down on it first before someone else gets a chance to do that. 2, make sure, I've gone into old listings that now people are like, I was just doing it today. Last Christmas, I wasn't using loss leaders, and I wasn't using any break-even pricing strategies. So I went back into those listings and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to drop it to break-even pricing for a little while to get my bestseller jamming again. and I'm going to add a loss leader to it because now I want to compete with anybody this year that has copied my listing from last year. And so that's kind of been something that's really helped me keep my, and of course with the break-even pricing strategy, I can go back in and hike the prices back up after it gets itself worked into the algorithm again. Like after I feel like it's been bumped to a place where it's going to be kind of one of the first things popping up when people are looking at that design. So that's a way that I've
super quick and just make sure, because not everyone watching might be super familiar with these terms. So I'll just dive into it super quickly. So 2 of the really great ways you can launch a listing so much faster is by doing break-even pricing right when you list it. So what that means is you figure out how much profit you'd make on an item normally with your normal pricing, but then you price it down to where maybe you're like breaking even. So I'm assuming you're including Etsy fees in your break-even price. So figure out what your actual cost for the item plus Etsy fees are. I've got my income and expense report linked down below with the Etsy profit calculator to help you figure that out if you need it. And then you would price your items at that, because if you can get a bunch of sales really quickly injected into your listing because it's so cheap, then Etsy is going to say, hey, people love this listing. I'm going to go show it to more people. And so then after you get maybe 5, 10, 20 sales, whatever it looks like for that listing, then you raise the price to normal price now that you're on the first page. The other thing she's talking about is the loss leader. So what that is there's one item usually for sale in your listing that's less expensive than everything else, because the Etsy search results only show the least expensive variant. So one way you could do this would be to do like the size extra small for like $4 or $5 less than all of the other sizes, or one weird color in a cheaper price. That way you look less expensive in the search results. So that's what she's talking about with a loss leader. So I just wanted to kind of go over those things so it really makes sense and sinks in that these are really good launching strategies and a huge reason why Shawna has been so successful. And those are definitely things that we talk about in the POD roadmap, my course that's linked down below, just quick plug.
Yeah, and actually the POD road course, the course you put together is phenomenal. So I have been doing that course every week. We've been working on that course, and I'm not allowed to work ahead because I have friends that come over. We all do it together, and I'm not allowed to work ahead when they're not with me. So I cannot wait to get further into the course, but it is excellent. And those market research pieces that you put together toward the beginning of the course, it is worth every minute to sit down and do those exercises because it is setting you up for absolute success. And you make it so easy because you like attach. I knew there was a spreadsheet thing involved. I'm like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? But then you actually attach it in there for us. Like,
yeah,
all I had to do
you like spreadsheets, or even if you don't like spreadsheets, it's going to help you figure out how to do what I call your 6-figure research so much faster and easier, especially if you don't know Etsy, you don't know print on demand, you've never done marketing. It's really important to do your market research. And if someone just says that to you, you're like, what does that even mean? But it can really help you break down and understand what other people are selling, why they're successful. And those are a few pieces we look at. Other successful stores. What are they doing for loss leaders? What are they doing for their sales? What are they doing for their pricing? Are they doing launching strategies? These are all really important pieces. And so that's really good to hear, Shawna, that that's made a huge difference for you in your business and that you're implementing those for Q4. So, I know we're getting towards the end of our interview, so I'd love to get a couple more actionable pieces of advice for the people listening. If they're not getting the sales that they want, we're headed into Q4 right now, and everybody wants those results like you and I have had during Q4. What advice do you have for someone that is heading into Q4 and how to get prepared?
Okay, so a couple. One, on the topic of your course still, this just popped into my mind. I meet with some of my teacher friends once a month, and we get together and we work on, they've got little Etsy shops, because of course I try to get everyone to open an Etsy shop.
Same.
So we were just here the other night, and I remember feeling this way in the beginning, that we were talking about ads. And so some of the girls were like, oh, but I don't want to put an ad because, I'm afraid I'm going to lose money. I'm like, listen, it's going to be, by the end of the month, if you spent $30, you spent $30. You're already making regular sales. This is so you can make $10,000 faster. Do you want to wait a few months to make the $10,000, or do you want to wait much longer than that? Invest in your business if you have it, right? So I am so glad that I've seen the value of investing in your mentorship group, in courses, and yours is an excellent one. If the budget is there or you're already making sales, the fastest, easiest, best way to learn how to do something is to have someone show you that already knows how to do it. YouTube is excellent for that. So if you could absolutely do that, free content on YouTube. It has 100% accelerated for me. Had I not taken your mentorship, you didn't have a course available. So I took your mentorship group. And had I not at that time, and had I not taken that mentorship group, I would not have quit my job. I wouldn't have been in a place to do that without your encouragement through the steps that you were placing there for us. And I would not be anywhere close to where I am right now because I would not have been able to work on my shop full time. It's going from thinking like a teacher to thinking like a business person. There's a very big, most of us doing Etsy, we're not business people. We're teachers, we're nurses, we're stay-at-home moms, we're wearing all these different hats. And we're not used to thinking like an entrepreneur or a business person. But someone who starts to understand how to think like a business person, boy, you can really get your shop to places you never knew were possible like that. And investing in yourself, whether it be a mentorship group or a course, I can absolutely vouch for Cassie's course is excellent. This will help you get there faster. So, if that's not in the cards right now, YouTube videos. You should at least be watching 2 YouTube videos every single day. This is something that I have seen with my own friends and family, that is a piece that, maybe because they figure they can talk to me when they want to, that they don't watch the videos. It is huge. You've got to watch content that is teaching you. It's a must. It's like trying to learn how to do long division, but never sitting with a teacher and having them show you how to do it. And you're just going to practice every day and do it wrong every day. It's impossible to learn without someone showing you how. So you have to put yourself somewhere where someone can show you. So watch YouTube videos or get a course like Cassie's, and then list. Take what you're learning in the video, apply it. Don't sit there and think, oh, I've got to watch 10 more videos about this before I try this. Or I've got to get this down perfect and make 100 designs before I list one. Get it sloppy, get it dirty, get it up, learn from it. You'll start getting data on it. You'll start seeing, well, 1 view on this listing, but this one got 5 views. So maybe I'll make more designs that are a little bit more like this one. And it's little baby steps. And before you know it, you got listings with hundreds of views. And then you really are getting good data. So really, you've got to just jump in with both feet and get listing and just see what works. Start testing and see what works.
Yeah, no, I think that's super, super good advice. One of my favorite authors, 𝗗𝗓𝗏, he's the author of the $100 Million Leads book. He has amazing motivational YouTube channel that I make sure I watch every single week, because you never get to a point where you stop learning. You always need to keep learning. In the beginning, it's a lot of really technical stuff. And as you get going more, it's super important to prime yourself for learning mentally and emotionally, because the hurdles get bigger and different the further you get into your entrepreneurship journey. And he had a quote that I loved recently. And he's like, instead of investing into the S&P 500, you should be investing in the S&Me 500. And he really preaches that when you're like young and you're trying to get it going, you're going to make so much more money over the course of your lifetime if you invest in yourself and learn skills that you can take and make money from and learn from. And he's bought like hundreds and hundreds of courses, or maybe lots of courses, I don't remember. And it's really made him into who he is today. So whether you invest in something like my course, someone else's course, watch a million YouTube videos, I think Shawna's advice is super right. You need to prime your brain to be thinking this way, because you can't expect yourself to be a fancy business person the first time you set out to have an Etsy shop. Of course, you don't know what you're doing. You've never owned a business before, like Shawna said. And so don't expect yourself and put that pressure on yourself that you need to be there yet. This is a journey. It's not a race. You just need to take it slowly and have the mindset that you'll get there and it'll all work out so good for you. So this was so motivational. I hope you guys loved this video. Thank you again, Shawna, for coming on. I'll link Shawna's YouTube video, your YouTube channel down in the description. She has great videos. And if you need a slap in the face to go do what you need to do, she is the one to do it. I love your videos, Shawna. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. I was so glad to be here. And I just want to say thank you so much for being an inspiration to me for Etsy, because last year I watched all of your YouTube videos, and then being in the mentorship group with you and you sharing a bit about your YouTube journey, and then being an inspiration to me to start YouTube. Life-changing.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I think that's another thing that's fun to talk about too, just before we get going. And I know me and you could talk forever, is that, you know, Etsy's probably just the beginning. You know, once you realize how to make money online, there's a million different ways you can go with it. Maybe you will be teaching on YouTube just like we are in a year or two from now. That might seem really far away. I can tell you both Shawna and I didn't have our eye on doing this in the beginning. This isn't something we would have thought we would have ended up doing. I also started my mock-up store where I sell digital downloads, and that makes me recurring, you know, $500 to $1,000, $1,500 every month on autopilot. I started selling on Amazon. You know, I have so many different streams of income now, and I want you guys to look forward to that. And I hope that you know that once you just get this piece figured out, just keep at it. Even if this isn't the one that blows up and you make all your money and spend all your time on this, it will lead you to other opportunities. And the culmination of all of those opportunities is absolutely going to change your life. You can be successful at whatever you want. You just have to put your time, put your energy into it, and life can be super magical. So
absolutely. Persistence. That's just persisting and keeping at it until something happens, or you learn enough that if you redirect and pivot, do something else. But that is absolutely like, and we're just scratching the surface. Like, who knows how many opportunities out there that we haven't even come across. These two little, I just feel so blessed and lucky that I came across this, Etsy and YouTube. And
yeah. Same. Yeah. I couldn't be more grateful, and so grateful to you. You are one of my most successful students. I'm so glad you decided to come back on for an update. So again, I think it's so motivational that it took you 2 years to sell 300K. And then in 10 months, you sold $570,000. Like, this is what the compounding interest looks like, guys. If you're feeling like it's a slow start in the beginning, don't worry, you're not alone. That's what it looks like for almost everyone. But if you just keep at it, you can have stories just like this too. So thank you again, Shawna, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Cassie.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.